Hi, my name is Shahmat Banda, and today I'll be sharing my review of the film Miracle in Cell No.7.
I can't let you go. So find someone great, but don't find no one better.
Let me just start by saying I wasn't prepared. Not emotionally, not even mentally. Nothing could have prepared me for what this film did to me. It had me bawling my eyes out, even more than once, and yet I walked away with a full heart. Miracle in Cell No.7 is one of those rare films that don't just tell a story, it lives inside you. It makes you laugh out loud, and then without warning, shatters you completely. It's powerful, not because of huge plot twists or fancy effects, but it knows what it means to be human. Now, I'll break this review down into a few key areas: acting, directing, set design, audio, and costumes. And then I'll wrap it up with my personal reflection.
Better. I hope you're happy. I wish you all.
Let me start with the acting. Without exaggeration, I'd say it's phenomenal. Ryu Song-ryung, who plays the father, Yong-gu, absolutely blew me away. He plays a man with a developmental disability, and not even once did it feel exaggerated, even disrespectful. He brought a softness and sincerity to Yong-gu that made him impossible not to love. His body language, his tone of voice, and the way he looked at his daughter, it all felt real. You don't just watch him, you actually believe in him. And let's talk about the little girl, Kal So-won, who played Ye-sung. I have no idea how someone that young can deliver a performance that mature, that emotionally intelligent. Her expressions were raw, especially in the courtroom scene. She wasn't acting like a child who pretends to cry. She was fully in the moment. Even the supporting cast, the inmates in Cell No.7, added layers of depth. Each character brought something different: comic relief, emotional support, and even moral tension. They weren't just background characters, they were part of the family, the part of the emotional arc.
You are the best. Really say you love her, baby, just not like you love.
Now let's talk about the directing. The director Lee Hwan-kyu knew exactly what he was doing. This film walks a dangerous line between tragedy and comedy, justice and injustice, hope and despair. But Lee never lost control of the tone. The pacing is intentional. He doesn't rush through emotional scenes. He lets us sit in silence, absorb the pain, and let us feel the awkwardness. He also chose to tell a story that speaks on many levels, not just about the father and the daughter, but about a broken justice system, about people who are thrown away because they are different, about the humanity that still exists in places we least expect, like a prison cell. Lee made sure that every emotion was earned. He didn't manipulate us with cheap tricks. He simply laid out the humanity and let us respond. And clearly, the entire audience did.
Like you love me and think of me fondly when your hands are on her. I hope you're happy.
Now, let's talk about the setting. Much of the film is set in one main location, which is a prison. You'd expect that to feel limiting, but the set design team somehow turned that cell into something dynamic. At first, it feels cold and harsh, but over time, as the relationships between the inmates and Yong-gu grow, you start to notice small changes. The lighting somehow feels warmer, the walls more familiar, even the cramped space starts to feel like home. The prison becomes a sanctuary. That's such a powerful reversal, because outside that prison, in the courts and police stations, is where the real coldness exists. The real punishment isn't inside, it's outside, where the system fails.
I hope you're happy, but don't be happier.
Moving on to the audio setting, Let's talk about the music. At first, I didn't even realize how much the score was affecting me until I caught myself tearing up in scenes with almost no dialogue, just music. The soundtrack was soft, never overbearing, but it matched the emotional beats perfectly. The courtroom scenes had this quiet tension underneath them. The music made your chest feel tight. And the farewell scene, I don't even have words. The combination of silence, the little girl's voice, and the soft piano in the background, that scene alone deserves an award. But what I also appreciated was the restraint in sound design. They somehow knew when not to use the music. They knew that some scenes hit harder because there was no background score, just breathing, footsteps, and sobbing, and it made everything feel painfully real. For the costumes, I'd say it were simple, but they sure told the story. Younggo's outfits always look a little too small or slightly worn, immediately communicating poverty and vulnerability without needing any exposition. Yesung's school uniform made her look even smaller, more fragile, especially when she stood next to the police officers or lawyers in cold, professional suits. That visual contrast reinforced the power imbalance in every scene. Even the prison uniforms, dull, colorless, added to the weight of the setting. But within the monotony, each character still had their own identity, whether it was how they rolled up their sleeves or wore a beanie. Small details that made them real. And for my final words, I would say that Miracle in Cell No.7 is not just about the man who loved his daughter. It's about a world that couldn't understand him and the people who chose compassion over judgment. And it made me ask big questions. What is justice really? Can innocence survive in a system built on assumptions? And most of all, what would I do if I were in that position? This movie tore me apart. But I'm glad it did. Because sometimes a good cry is exactly what we need to remind ourselves of what really matters. And to wrap up, the acting is world class. The direction is masterful. The sets feel real and symbolic. And the music is haunting. And also the costumes speak volumes in silence. If you haven't watched it yet, please do so. But don't do it casually. Sit down, clear your mind, and let it take you. And bring tissues. Trust me, you'll need them. Thank you.